ado, I have to give these brothers a proper introduction. You know I don't bring people into the Dr. Don radio show raggedy. We don't make you sit on the plastic couch like grandma used to. We make you feel comfortable. So I want to introduce my guests. Kings are in the house tonight, right? I always have queens, but I love when I have kings. But let me introduce. I tell you, I'm going to start from the top and just work my way down. First, he's no stranger to the Dr. Don radio show. We have Demond Alverez. He is an author, speaker, host of Soul of a Man 504. Yeah, he from NOLA, y'all. He from Louisiana. And he is also the owner of Soul of a Man 504 Incorporated. Welcome back to the Dr. Don radio show. Demond, how are you, brother?
I'm good. And thank you for having me back.
Yeah. I gotta give some applause. I love my applause. You gotta cheer people on, right? Because everybody needs to feel good. And then we have Joseph Seafous, aka Joe Boy. He is a radio host here at Raise the Praise 100. You can catch his show, The Do Something Movement, on Saturdays at 7 a.m. on RaiseThePraise100.com. Welcome to the Dr. Don radio show. Joe Boy, how are you, brother?
I am doing well. It's so great to be back on the show. Thank you so much for having me here.
Absolutely. And then last but not least, he's no stranger to the Dr. Don radio show. He was on 10 years ago. No, I'm kidding. Hey, Nic.
Feels like it.
Hey, he was getting his doctorate, darling. He had things to do. Yeah. But I got to give him a proper introduction. PhD, psychotherapist, owner of Nic Hardy Counseling Services. Nic Hardy, how are you, brother?
I am doing good, Dr. Don. I appreciate you having me on. And yes, it feels like 10 years ago, but it actually was only about 2 years ago. So
hey. It's all love. 10 years ago, 2 months ago. It's always love. Now, I'm so excited to have this conversation with you all. But let's kick this off. I want to start with you, Demond, and then Joseph, and then you, Nic. Give us a brief introduction about yourself, just so the listening audience and those who want to view on Facebook can get to know you before we get into this convo.
Okay, so I am Demond Alverez, aka Mr. Soul of a Man 504. I am a multifaceted author. I'm also a speaker, and within the last few years, I've become a child advocate. I've also become a mental health advocate as well. I'm also a spiritual consultant. So I'm a man of many talents, and I wear many hats. And again, thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Joe Boy, give us your intro, brother. Tell us about who you are.
My name is Joseph Seafous, aka Joe Boy. I do have a show on Saturday mornings on Raise the Praise called the DSM Morning Show, along with my co-host Von Frederick and Pastor Jeremy Sanders. I also sing with the worship team at Lakewood Church. I do volunteer there as well. And just in ministry, just love to do ministry, just love to serve God's people in any way I can. And I'm just so grateful for the platform that He has given us to do so.
Yeah, I mean, it's real. Nic, brother, tell us about who you are, your counseling services, so they know you're credible.
Yeah, absolutely.
We didn't find you on the back of a www.therapypopculture.com.
Yeah, no, on Instagram.
Yes, come on.
So, yeah, absolutely. Dr. Nic Hardy, I'm a psychotherapist. Been in practice for over 10 years. I run a private practice here in Houston, Texas, group practice. It's me and another therapist. And again, I focus with, my primary focus is with adults, specifically around relationships. And so I say adults, I mean older adults. I don't mean 18 adult. I mean,
yeah.
Functioning independent adults. But absolutely. So yeah.
But everybody has a niche. You got to know where you're gifted at and where God has called you to be. Everybody's not called to reach it. You can't say I reach 18 to 65-year-olds. No, you gotta stay in your lane. But brothers, I want to kick this conversation off with just stigmas. Any of you can start off. What are some stigmas when it comes to men and mental health? And let's start with you, Nic, with this question, and then I want to hear from you, Joe and Demond. What are some stigmas when it
Yeah,
comes to men and mental health?
absolutely. So I think the biggest stigma is the stigma around the fact that something is wrong or that you're crazy. You know,
Mm,
I mean, I see that a lot of times. There's hesitation to reach out for mental health support because of the stigma of, man, I'm crazy.
mm.
And even some of the things that we see in the media, we
Oh, yeah.
associate it with mental health. And so that creates further stigma around the idea that if someone is dealing with any type of mental health issue, that they're crazy. You know, and
Yeah.
I use that word intentionally because again, that's what a lot of people say. You know, like, man, I'm not crazy. And so I think that's one of the biggest stigmas, at least from my perspective, that I see
Yeah.
a lot of times.
Yeah. And we use that in conversation, in everyday
Mm-hmm.
conversation. Oh, she's crazy. Oh, he's
He's
crazy.
crazy.
Look, we had a therapist come on. She's like, that's not even a diagnosis. Crazy's
Mm-hmm.
not even a
Mm-hmm.
diagnosis. So we use these terms. We see the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that YouTube now has these commercials, Nic, and I don't know how you feel about it. The commercials where there's therapists on there talking about their credentials and people talking about I'm on with, I just love that is running now. Um,
Absolutely, I
but
do.
but give us some stigmas, Joe Boy, Demond, maybe that you have encountered or seen or heard from other men. Stigmas associated with mental health when it comes to men as well.
One thing I'll say is just not being able to talk about your emotions, as a man, and not being able to articulate that and get that out. I think a lot of times people forget that they look at us as machines that's supposed to like go provide, but we're also human, and through that we go through things as well.
Mm, I like that. You can't express your emotions, and we're going to talk about that as well. Joe Boy, you?
I think anytime as men we are put in this particular position where we cannot show any kind signs of weakness, and
Mm-hmm.
I think anytime when we are able to share those type of things, they feel we, it makes us feel less of a man because because we show those types of weakness. We people say weaknesses of mental health, and so we keep that in, we hold it into ourselves, and we just try to live our daily lives trying to be strong because the world view us as strong, and but we're broken inside, and we're trying to make it one day from day, whether or not if today may be even our last day of existence. But we have to
Yeah.
continue to hold it in and put on this facade that everything is okay when reality is.
Mm. Nic, do you see that black men or men in general
Mm-hmm.
feel the stigma? Because all men, the head of the household, all of that. But do you see black men, especially because of law enforcement, discrimination, or what do you see?
Yeah, I definitely, and to Joe's point, you know, again, what I see a lot of times is a overreaction when a
Mm,
man shares. Again, so
mm,
they may not explicitly say you're weak, even though they do,
yeah.
but the perception is there, and sometimes you respond based on that perception. And I think sometimes that response is, you know, like, well, is it, you okay? Like, what's, I mean, you know, like something's wrong with you. It's kind of the undertone of everything. And I think as a man, you feel that. Like, you
Mm,
feel when someone, especially if you open up, if someone like embraces you versus someone has this visceral reaction that suggests you are weak or that, you know, something is wrong and you're not okay. And, you know, let's check on Joe because he told me he was feeling down. And is Demond all right? You know, like, I mean, it's just extreme response. But to your point, yes, I do think we take on a lot,
yeah.
whether it's through racism, whether it's through things that we see on the media, whether it's just everyday life. All of us have a lot on our plate.
Mm,
Then
oh yeah.
the additional component of being a man and being a black man, especially, it's twofold, and it doesn't undermine anybody else's struggle. I just know
Right.
personally, what we
Yeah.
go through a lot is unique in and of itself.
Yeah, and that's why I was asking. But I actually had a brother, and I want to know what you all think. You know, we were talking. It was a conversation with women about men, and a brother was on the production team, so he was behind the scenes, of course. But we were talking. He said, and I want to know from you first, Demond, Joe Boy, and then Nick. To touch on your point, he said, I don't like head of the household. He said, I am a Christian. I love the Lord. He said, but I don't like that term. It puts pressure on us. Like, I got the weight of the world and I got the weight of the household. That's a lot. He said, I don't like when I hear head of the household. It just it puts so much pressure on me. What do y'all think about that?
Well, one thing I'll say is that things in society are changing. Everything is everything is shifting constantly. Everything is moving. Everything is moving so fast. And as men, we have a lot. As Dr. Nick said, we have a lot of things naturally on our plate already, and for people in society, quote unquote, to throw that on us, even though, in society where women are now making, more money,
That's some
and
money,
things
yeah.
of that nature. So those conversations,
And we let you know it.
right.
Some of us have to let
Even
you
if you
know.
don't laugh.
Oh my
Right.
gosh, that's another
Right.
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, another conversation. Right. So it's just it's just naturally things like that are just even put more on the plate or on the table, that just kind of adds more intensity, so to speak.
Joseph, for you, is that when you hear head of the household, does that pressure you, or it doesn't pressure you at all? You're like, hey, this is my role.
I think anytime society takes something and they just make it so much bigger than what it is. God has called us men to be head of the household, and that's our position. Um, and a wife who is respectable of that position and knows your heart of who you are will compliment you, and we could be stronger together. But
Right.
I just think that we allow outside chatter to dictate our position and how God has positioned us.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another conversation. I was about to say something, but the Lord said, "Stay on this topic right here, y'all." I'm serious. Come on, man. And I really could go there because Nick, when you said relationships, I love relationship
Oh,
talk.
I do too.
But ladies, come on. Yeah. What have you done all day? You don't cook, you don't clean, and you got to pay my bill. Again, a mature woman, like you said, Joseph. But I don't want to get into that. Let's again, mature brothers. Who are you going after?
Mhm.
Some of that's on you.
Yep.
You choosing pretty but no purpose, sexy but no substance. But let's get back to this because Nick, you said my key word. Now, are you finding, Nick? And then I want to hear from you, Joe Boy and Demond. Are you finding that men are more open to talking about mental health?
I do. I think so. I think as of late, it
Okay.
has become more normalized.
Yeah.
Even when I think about a lot of the clients I see, I have a huge influx of men.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it's because I'm a man,
Yeah.
and obviously in this space, I'm a minority,
Mhm.
and so some men want to talk to a man,
That's right.
particularly when it comes to certain issues that they may be dealing with. But overall, I do think that men are becoming more open to it. I mean, do we have a lot of work to do? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But when I started in this space probably 15 years ago, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be a therapist. I mean, it was like, oh, you gonna be what? And so to see just the progress over
Yeah.
what I consider a short period of time, 15 years is not a long
Oh yeah,
time.
it's not a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think we're making some inroads into just becoming more accepting of mental health as a
Yeah.
whole.
And even how we have this conversation,
Hmm.
right? Because yeah, this is a radio show, but if I'm coming condemning it, men and all of that, and we're judging, no wonder
Absolutely.
men don't talk about it. No wonder men
Absolutely.
don't talk about it.
And
So no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, opportunities like this, is and which I truly appreciate you for because it really does just plant the seed, and
Yeah,
you never know when that seed is going to, you know, blossom. But I
that's
think the
right.
more you hear it, especially from professionals like yourself, then I think the more normalized it becomes.
That's right. That's right. Now, Joe Boy and Damon, you in your social settings with brothers, basketball court, what have you? Do y'all talk? Y'all talk? Are y'all? Do y'all talk about mental health? Do brothers ever say, "Man, I'm battling today. I'm bad." In your circles, do you guys talk about depression? Do you guys talk about, "Man, I'm struggling to take care of my household today"? What are brothers in the circle? Because sometimes it's easier to talk to each other and not your woman about it, right?
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think now you're starting to see it a little bit more, as Dr. Nick has stated. I've also realized that being involved in the men's ministry at my church, that more men are willing to talk as long as it's in a safe place.
Yes.
You provide them a place where they're able to talk. We have this event that we do periodically called an encounter, where they are able to go to like a retreat and able to just talk about any and everything, and it's safe.
That's
And,
good.
and because it's already hard enough for a man to open up,
Yeah.
so you want to provide them a place where not only they can open up, but be safe in doing so.
And I like that, safe.
Mhm.
Safe. That is the key word. Even in this space, you have to feel safe,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, I'm a strong woman. Y'all see all that, and the term strong is, there's many definitions, but thankfully, you guys saw that this is a safe space to talk
Mhm.
about mental health and men and your own journeys, right? Now, let me start with you with this question, Damon. Personally, we talked about women making a man feel weak. And then, Nick, I want to end with you with this. I want to hear from you, Damon, first on this. Have you ever been made to feel weak for expressing your feelings? Nick touched on it, but personally, because women need to know and they need to pay attention to 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 how we address our men. Maybe that's why they're not opening up, ladies. Okay, Damon, have you ever been made to feel weak, even by family members, for expressing your feelings?
Yes, and in society, there's an old saying that says, men cry alone at the door, because sometimes,
Yes.
sometimes it's hard for us to express ourselves, and I'm glad that there are safer spaces that are happening, on social media and off of social media as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
the younger version of me was always uh I was, like the word now would be simpish, you know what I mean, or
Mm,
or just seen it as weak for just wanting to express your your emotions in different ways. But for me, growing up, I had to figure out, okay, so what avenues can I go, and even back then, I had to figure out, like maybe just naturally through my talents, through poetry, or or whatever, just getting figuring out ways that I could just get it out, because back in the day, it just wasn't a thing where, even in the barbershops, it wasn't a thing where you could express yourself, and say, hey, I'm going through this, and mental health wasn't really as big of a thing as it is, in today's world.
yeah. And even like you're a poet, and you guys know this, Nick, poet. Oh, you need to be a basketball player. You need to be an engineer. That's a
Mhm.
man's
Mhm.
career.
Yep.
Poet, that's soft. Even how these young boys, they want to be an artist. That's not what a man does.
Mhm.
We have to even be mindful, right, of how we're talking to our young men, because we're going to talk about that later, y'all. We're going
Yeah.
to talk about that later. But, Joe, have you ever been made to feel weak for expressing your feelings?
Absolutely, because I am not the typical man that people see, on TV, or I show my strength through my from my heart. And so there's a lot of times, I've been bullied in high school, in elementary school, bullied through middle school, bullied through some parts of high school, um, because I didn't have that example of I had my father was strong. Now don't get me wrong, he was that guy. He was that old school strong dude. I was just cut from a different mold, and
Mhm.
so I showed my love towards somebody, or showed my the way I feel and respect for a person through my heart.
Mm.
Uh, and so there have been times where I have been hurt, uh, whether it's through relationships, through my last marriage, you know, and it's hard to recover because then you start second guessing yourself. Like, is it me? Am I in the wrong for being this way?
Mhm.
But God reassured me and said, no, I made you to be this way.
That's
And
right.
you need to be confident in who you are and whose you are.
Yeah. Yeah. And even y'all, these brothers who we see, 300-pound linebacker, he's
Hmm.
battling. Right,
Yep,
Nick? I mean, there's a
absolutely.
stereotype.
Yeah.
There's a stereotype, things we don't know going on behind the scenes. Now, Nick, I want to start
Mhm.
with you with this question. Do we as women truly understand how men deal differently with challenges and emotions?
I don't think so.
Mhm.
And I don't think that's a slight at women. I just think we're wired differently.
That's right. That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
I really do. And my wife would kill me for using this example, but I'm gonna use it anyway. The other day, I was just tired. I mean, I've been working. I mean, literally, and I was just like, man, baby, I'm tired. Like it's just a lot. She was like, you need to go to the hospital. And I'm like, man, for a brother being tired, and I mean, again, if she was being sincere,
Yeah, yeah,
she
yeah.
genuinely was being sincere. But the truth is, as I said earlier, just that over response,
Uh,
to opening up and being like, man, I'm tired. Man,
yeah.
it's just a lot.
Yeah.
you know? And we joked about it, we talked about it afterwards, but I mean, I think that's an example when we
Yeah.
just talk about understanding where
Yeah.
there can be a gap.
Yeah.
The truth is, every man, whether he admits it or not, gets to a point where he's tired. He
Yeah.
may feel overwhelmed, and it's just like, okay, I got this, I got this, I got this. But how we express it a lot of times is different.
Yeah. Yeah. She was concerned. She was like,
Oh,
"You
he
need to go to
really,
hospital
I'm
because you
like,
can't be tired. You got bills
hospital.
to pay. You got no. Look.
Come on now,
Yeah,
Ain't
dude.
time to be
You
getting
better.
tired,
You better get up. Yeah. How
Shake it
many kids?
off.
How many kids do you have?
I have two.
Okay. Yeah.
I
You
have
have
two. And
two
I have
kids.
a 10-month too.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
that's contributing to the tiredness too.
Oh
But
yeah.
I
Hey, that
can't
was
say
on you.
that.
Y'all decided. Hey,
That's
hey, that
true.
was on you.
That's true. It ain't just happened.
Hey, takes two to tango. But anyway, we
One
love the kids.
osmosis.
Yeah,
So
we love the kids. But no, I mean,
yeah.
but at least you were able to communicate because I think sometimes, Demond and Joe, if you were to say no, I'm not, sometimes it can be an argument
Hmm.
or what's wrong with you? Why
Yeah.
don't you get up? Why don't you? That's not gonna help.
Mhm. Absolutely.
That's
And I
not
think,
gonna help.
and to that point, though, I'll say this, with the differences, I think there has to be intentionality on understanding how each person kind of expresses and shows up.
Yeah.
Because again, it could be different. And if you box someone into what you know or what you're comfortable with, then a lot of times you can miss it. And so
Mm,
meeting people where they are, I think is important. For some
yeah.
people, they may be more vocal about it. For some people, they may kind of shut down a little bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of it, having the conversation about it and getting to know someone at an intimate level, I think can actually bridge that gap.
Yeah. And intimacy is not sex, right? It's
Hmm.
not always, it's, and look, we can talk about God's divine order and some of this going on. Mature. If you're mature in your relationship, you should know Joseph's having a bad day today. Maybe this is not, or I can tell because I've known him for so long, maybe this is not the time to ask about a bill. Save that for tomorrow after breakfast, after coffee, whatever. It's and this wife, and I love talking to seasoned, mature wives because they said you need to watch your timing and your tone.
Hmm.
Women get it wrong with the timing and the tone sometimes. But I love that you touched on that, Nic. We have to be intentional. We
Mhm.
have to be intentional. Damon, I want to hear from you first and then you on this, Joe. What do you personally do when you are dealing with pressures personally? Therapy, counseling, if you want to share that, how do you go for a walk? What do you do when you are struggling, when you're battling? How do you deal?
Well, I'm a beach man, so I go down to Galveston,
Okay.
and it's me and the ocean, and uh, it's like the ocean to me gives a lot, and it takes a lot away. So
Yeah.
I'm able. So when I'm in nature, I can focus. It's just it's me and my thoughts, and it's God, and it's everything, and it's everything else in between. And I don't, and it's just to the point where I can, I can just get it. I can just get it all out. I
Mm,
just whatever it was, and for different, let's say different strokes, different folks, and I
yeah.
understand that. So but for me, it's like when I'm there, I whatever it was, I just leave it there, and then I can come back, and then I can deal with whatever it is that I have to deal with moving forward.
I like that. You, Joe Boy?
I think it's really healthy to find a good, healthy outlet
Yeah.
to, you know, for me, when I get upset, I get real quiet.
Mm,
So it's good to find a place where you can let out your frustration. For me, I like going to the gym. I like working out. So it's like if I'm angry, I'm going to take it out on those weights.
good.
For finding a good, healthy out. Or at times, I'll find like a quiet place and just kind of meditate and just think on some good things. Like the Bible says, if there's be any virtue or praise, think on these things. And
Yeah.
so that's what I try to do. And I've had counseling in the past, especially going through some things. And it's also good to have some people, uh, you could be accountability partners or whomever, that for me, those that will pray with me, that I can confide in and not have to worry about my conversations getting leaked out. So just
Yeah.
find, like I said, some finding healthy outlets that can help you whenever you're going through something like
Nic, is there an unhealthy way? Because, and look, we're not judging anyone and how they cope. But if he hasn't drunk, if he's not a drinker, but all of a sudden he's coming
Yep.
home in the house with a bottle of beer with a six pack every night,
Hmm.
and we're not judging, right, by any
Absolutely.
means. Some
Absolutely.
men, maybe the strip club.
Hmm.
Some men, how do you know, Nic, when it's healthy, unhealthy? Let's talk about some unhealthy ways to cope.
Yeah, so I think so. There's a couple things. I mean, I think we have the obvious unhealthy.
Yeah.
Something happens and you're doing something that's a risky behavior, something that is potentially detrimental to your health,
Yeah.
or even just your
Sex addiction. And
sex
we're not trying to be funny
porn.
here,
Yeah, no,
but
no, it
yeah,
is. Yeah, because
it's
all of these
real.
are ways to distract us from what we're really going through and
Yeah.
oftentimes can numb us. But even some of our positive coping strategies, when done in an extreme, can
Mhm.
also become unhealthy.
Yeah.
And so I think there's sometimes that healthy balance. But I think anything that, again, obviously is working against us in the process of doing it is probably the sign that this isn't healthy. And
Yeah.
we know what that is, right? Like I
Yeah.
said, because you could do something in moderation, but you could do something as an escape, and,
Yes.
and it morph into an unhealthy coping. You know.
That's right. Because let's say, for instance, that brother wants to go play golf, right, guys? There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that. But
No.
if he's playing golf for hours and hours because he doesn't ever want to talk to his wife about it,
Yep.
or if spending money on golf is taking away from the family finances,
Hmm.
that's not a healthy thing,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
But
Shopping. You
yes,
know.
shopping.
Hmm.
I'm shopping. You going into debt,
Yep.
a problem on top of another problem.
Hmm.
So I like that we say that, but we don't judge how people are coping, but we can clearly see when it's unhealthy.
Yeah.
We have to see the signs, ladies. Now, you know, let's talk about masculinity. We talked about masculinity. Let's talk about man up. And I want to start with you, Demond, Joe, and then Nick. Man up, man up. We hear that all the time. How is the term man up stigmatizing? How is that term stigmatizing?
Um, it's stigmatized to the fact where you could be a man and you're drowning in you're drowning in your emotions, and we touched on it earlier in conversations where you can't naturally express yourself. It's like, oh, you're a man, or you're a male. You're not supposed to, you're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to be able to express express your emotions in really any sense in the matter, because now we're living in such a microcosm of society where
Yeah,
everything is put into, we're in a sense, it's like Dr. Nick said, we're being, we're naturally being boxed in, and like I said, the ocean,
yeah.
we feel like we're drowning emotionally.
Drowning is a deep word, isn't it, Nick?
It is.
When a
It
man
really
uses
is.
the word he's drowning, my goodness, how
Yeah.
many men feel like they're drowning?
A lot, a lot. Whatever the situation is,
Yeah,
it's over your head. Like you don't have control over it. It's overwhelming. It's too much, and it's you think about literally. You think about someone drowning. They may not be dead, but they feel it's only a matter of time. And
wow.
sometimes metaphorically, when you use that, you're in a similar situation. You
Mm,
don't feel like you're at the end, but it's
yeah.
only a matter of time. And
Mm.
so, yeah.
I tell you. Then let's go into how do we talk to our young men about it? Any one of you can start. How do we talk to our young men about mental health? Because our young people, y'all, are dealing, and we clearly see what is going on in these schools with our teenagers, with our young boys. Some of them, the home life is unstable. We know that, right? So you take a 14-year-old boy who, my goodness, mom is out of control, dad's not around. Maybe he was abused in the home,
Mhm.
and then he's at school, or these kids are dealing with pressure, having to get the scholarship, having to play sports, all of these things. How do
Yeah.
we talk to our young teen boys about mental health?
Yeah. Let me. I'll jump in and let me. And I don't want to divert us, but I will say, one, it just comes with being around.
That's good.
You know,
It takes a
Um,
village. All of
it,
us are
it, it,
responsible.
it re- it really does. It
Yeah.
takes a village, and you start with your tribe. You start with people who are close to you, because yes, I can come to a school and talk, and I think that's important, and I think that can be helpful. But man, if you are doing life with a child or a friend, that just resonates so much more because they can see you,
That's right.
and as you grow and become more open, you're modeling that behavior. They learn from what you do, and so
Mm.
I think it starts with us and just how we live and how we show up in different spaces.
The neighbor's kid,
Yep.
your little nephew. Nick,
Hmm.
you have two girls.
Two girls.
Okay, so you have two girls. Either way, I mean, they need to know about mental health, right? But
Yeah,
if you had
yeah.
boys, I would say, but everybody has a little cousin, a little nephew,
Hmm.
somebody at church, right, Joe Boy? I mean, everybody has some little child, some young man, and being an example.
Hmm.
How about being an example?
That's it.
It's okay to cry, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Don't freak out because the little 5-year-old is playing with a Barbie doll and his sister's Barbie doll. He's all these things that just can make, because Nick, we don't understand the psyche of a child,
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
we? And how those words we say can affect the psyche, affect that child, and they're carrying it with them in their 30s,
Oh, absolutely.
40s. Yeah.
Their brain is still developing, and it is so fertile. And so everything that we do is creating a norm. And
Mm,
so, what is that norm that we're creating in that child's life, or what we're exposing them to, what they're listening to, and what they see?
yeah.
And if we're doing life with them. We have a relationship. I think the best way that we can talk about mental health is by being aware of our own mental health and investing in our own mental health and emotional well-being. Because
That's
in
good.
that, it becomes the norm.
Yeah,
You know.
that's the normal we should be
Hmm.
creating. Joe Boy and Demond, I want to hear from you on this, and then Nick. Single mothers. And I don't know, Joe, your father was in your life, or were you raised by a single mother, Joe?
No, my father was definitely in my life.
Okay. So, but they were married?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm not getting in your business. Damon, you were raised by a single mother, or mother and father?
No, both parents.
Okay. Well, the reason I say that is because single mothers sometimes, and I'm sure you all, either way, you can maybe see what you've seen, where we see single mothers, they make their son the man of the house. He's the man. He's my, no, he's not your man. He's not, the mother doesn't mean to, or she can baby him too
Hmm.
much, right? Either way, even mothers, you have to watch, and we're not judging because it's not an easy task to be a parent. I'm not a parent. I can't even imagine. But we have to be mindful as well of how we treat our young boys. At 10 years old, he shouldn't be made to feel, it's just, it's a lot that goes on. Anybody want to weigh in on that?
Well, I'll say, just as powerful as the feminine is, the masculine is just as more powerful. And that the child or the children, it's either they need as much, like you said earlier, it takes a village. Now it takes, it seems that the villages have, like, I don't know, like, burned down in a sense.
Yeah,
So it takes, it takes that and then some. I always say, try to, that there's a 2-year-old little girl that has just been put in my life. Just these things happen. So I
yeah,
try to show her, and her dad isn't around. So and I don't have kids of my own, but I try to show her as much love as I possibly can.
that's
Because
right.
there's nothing there's nothing like the love of a father, and especially in the male's life, but especially in a girl's life as well.
Yeah, and she learns how men treat her by the way her father treats her. That's
Hmm.
why you have some young girls who grow up into women, broken women. Nick, you know this. I mean,
Hmm.
and you all. I mean, Joe, you shared your testimony. We're not talking in any way negatively about, right? But we're just speaking the truth on
Hmm.
what is going on. Many broken women. We look good, we're grown. She has a degree. Sometimes she's an overachiever because she's trying to please the daddy that wasn't there. It's a
Hmm.
lot going on, y'all. Now, Joe Boy, did you answer that question?
No, I didn't.
Get involved. Man up. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Come on, Joe. What
Man
man
up.
up?
All right, no, I'm kidding. I'm
No, I will say this. First of all, I want to commend all the women, uh, all the mothers who
Yes.
are single parents
Yeah.
that are having to, raise up children, especially young men. It's
Yes.
a hard thing to do because now with statistics and everything, it's just a lot of them don't have that male figure in their lives. And
That's
what
right.
I've learned, I played football, and I know, guys who uh, were raised in single parent homes that their coaches become their father figures,
Yes.
um, somebody that they can lean on to. So I think I can't remember who said it earlier, but me being an older male now, I try to be an example of a man to somebody who may not have that male figure in their life, and to try to give them wise counsel and also to listen. I think
Yes.
it's really important to listen because they do have a voice. They do have something to say.
Yes.
The more you listen, the more you're able to understand what they are going through and what they are needing, so that way you can provide them the right kind of love and the right kind of counsel.
That's right. It takes a village, and I like Damon how you said that. Now people don't want to get involved, and but see, the sad part is with predators and all of that. you try to be a village, but Nick's gonna be like, who is in this village? I got two daughters. I don't know you like that.
I'm telling
Demond,
you.
now that you're, and let's be honest about it, it's a lot of predators.
Hmm.
And it's not stranger danger, it's the person you know.
Hmm.
So, spirit of wisdom and discernment,
Yes.
because everybody can't be in the village.
Mhm.
But with spirit of wisdom and discernment, I believe there are many good people and who can be a good village, but we have to get involved, but in a healthy way.
Mhm.
In a healthy way, people. Now, I want to end with this. How can we as a community do better? Churches, schools. I'll start with you, Nick, to support those with mental health symptoms, our men, especially. We all have got to do better. The
Mhm.
church is getting better, right? But the pastor is doing what he knows, which is preaching.
Yep.
That's what he knows. He's not a therapist. He's not a counselor. So I love our church has a grief ministry.
Mhm.
Many churches now have counselors, therapists on staff. So we're getting it, right? So we're understanding. And I love how the church is finally, but what else? The church, the schools, what is we as a community can do better to
Yeah.
break the stigma?
Yeah. So I think there's a few things that we can do. Again, this isn't like a silver bullet. Obviously,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are dealing with generations of trauma, and there's a whole other conversation around that. But I think the first place we start is within the family.
Mm,
Okay. I think we start within our family and wrapping our arms around people that we love and care about and building them up, And so as they go out into the world, because the world can be very vicious, it can be
yeah,
a lot of things that we're up against, they have that internal fortitude to kind of withstand and be able to show up in ways that are healthy.
yeah,
So that's one aspect. And I mean,
yeah,
that's a whole another conversation. But I
yeah.
also think we need to enroll the supportive professionals.
Yes.
Mhm. Again, there's too many pseudo professionals out there. And just like you wouldn't go to someone who's not a physician and get medical advice, I think we have to be mindful of who we bring to the table when it comes to mental health as well too.
Absolutely.
Not to discredit people who aren't whatever, but I think it needs to be a healthy mix, and we need to take just as much, be just as serious about mental health as we are about certain other aspects of our lives as well too. And we all have blind spots. And so
Yes.
I think recognizing our own blind spots and our own limitations can help us put together a total package,
Yeah.
because mental health just isn't a therapy thing, you
That's
know,
right.
it's a life thing as well too. And so there's multiple components that go into creating a overall healthy social and emotional well-being. And I think we need different voices at the table.
And let me say this, and that's why I'm always responsible, right?
Mhm.
We're always responsible with this show because when I'm talking about grief, sometimes I have people come on, how are you coping with grief? But
Mhm.
then sometimes I have to have my counselors and therapists.
Mhm.
You have to, I know it's Mental Health Awareness Month, but maybe you need to pop up a flyer instead of doing a podcast because you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm not
Yeah.
trying to be funny. I'm not
Mhm.
going to tackle mental health,
Yeah.
right? It's any deep rooted issues, I refer to therapists and counselors. And that's
Yeah.
just what you have to do. You have to be responsible.
Yeah.
So I do believe that. And every therapist and counselor or coach, whatever, is not for everybody.
Absolutely.
You have to be responsible. Just
Yeah.
like I say, it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, but you having a podcast and you and your girlfriends talking about she need to leave.
It's yeah,
It's,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yep. Even
you,
as a therapist, I have limitations within the
everybody
therapeutic
does.
space. There's
That's,
certain issues that I'm like, hey, that's beyond me,
that's
or
right.
that's not my kind of focus area. And so, again, it's not a bad thing. It's just
That's
that's how
right.
we support people to the fullest potential, is being able to know where we need to hand the baton off to someone else.
Absolutely. Good. Joe Boy, Damon, you, how can we do better as a community to break the stigma?
Um, three words: communication, communication, communication.
Good.
It's important that we keep that communication alive because, for example, you can ask somebody how they're doing, and all they can say is, "I'm fine." We know they're not fine. So we want to keep that open line of communication with that person to really find out how they're really feeling, what's really going on, and be willing to listen to what they have to say. Now, like with Dr. Nick, there are some things that we just cannot be able to help, may be able to help them on, and we can help maybe point them in the right direction on where they should go to get the help, specifically what they need. This is like in the medical community. You have
That's right.
doctors and you have specialists.
Hmm.
So you want to put them in the right direction, but I think it all starts with communication. We got to have more communication in our homes. I grew up in a family, and this is, I know technology has done a lot of things, but growing up in a home where we didn't have all that technology, so we were able to have those type of conversations and talks because we didn't have those kind of distractions.
That's
But
right.
now, in the homes we see, everywhere you go, they go to a restaurant, give him give him the laptop so he can be quiet.
Yeah.
We have all those type of things. We have all these different types of devices to really break up that communication that we're so accustomed to growing up. So I think communication is key. It's important. I think it's a lifeline to any relationship, to any family. That's where I feel like we need to start with is talking, having that good communication.
And listening.
Yes,
And listening.
that's
And
right.
I like that you said that. And then I'm going to hear from you, Damon, in a minute. I love, first of all, Nick, that you said family. You have to start where you are. It makes no sense, Nick, going to the high school and he's not addressing his daughters and making sure that you got to take care of home first. That's God's order, right? And I believe God will bring children into your life like Damon. Okay, God clearly is saying this. You're not called to help everybody,
Yep.
but it starts at home. Let's take care of our homes first. That's why a lot of this is going on. If
Hmm.
Nick, I guarantee Nick, if his daughter had a dance recital, he'd be like, I can't make it, be Dr. Don.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
It's not that serious to be on the mic, putting your family on the sidelines for some, you know what I mean? We have
Yeah.
to watch that. And I like how you said, Joe, listening.
Hmm.
We have to listen. And I find that people tell you now how you're doing. Hey, I know you're doing good. We don't ask each other how we're doing. Oh, I know, I see you doing good. You don't know I'm about to break.
Hmm.
And I even had somebody one time, y'all, and she said, I need you to pray for me. I said, okay, and I need you to pray for me too. She said, oh, you don't need prayer. You good. And I'm like, man, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you see what I'm saying? No, I'm not good. I'm telling you to pray for me. I'm in this dark place. But even the encourager needs encouragement. But I find we need to start asking, how are you doing, instead of just telling people, I know you're doing good, because you don't know how people are. Ask the question to get the answer. Yeah. Damon, you?
Yeah, I just to piggyback off of what Dr. Nick and Joe Boy said, it starts in the home, and it is communication. Also, with that, it's education as well. I
Oh,
think a lot
yes.
of, I think a lot of times a lot of, still there's a large percentage of us, and maybe in our community, African American community, Black community, may not necessarily know what mental health is, the signs of, the signs of mental health, who you can reach out to, and things of, and things of that nature. But I'd agree that it does, it does naturally start in the home, and and from there, we just have to branch out. But we do. It is. I feel like it's an epidemic. We
It
need,
is.
we need more Dr. Nicks out here. Really and truly on the front lines, because a lot of our people are catching hell out here.
Well, we don't talk about it until the news story shows another incident,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
Then we want to wake up again. Okay, or it goes on in the home. We've had many people, just like on Soul Food. Oh, Uncle Pete, he's crazy. We keep him upstairs in the bedroom.
Hmm. You know
He
your
could,
uncle.
yeah, Uncle Pete or whatever.
Right.
Everybody, oh, he's just, y'all leave him alone. No, it's
Hmm.
not okay. So we've got to address it. But Nick, and thank you for saying that, Damon. I love how the Holy Spirit moves. We did not talk about signs.
Hmm.
We got to talk about signs. So, Nick, I want you to talk about signs of mental illness in a man. Ladies, pay attention. And then I want you, Joe Boy and Damon, to be thinking of personally you. You
Yeah.
know, what are signs that may be battling or
Yeah.
struggling at that time? Nick?
I'll be honest with you. I think this is where it gets tricky
Hmm.
because a lot of times the signs aren't obvious.
Hmm.
I mean, you'll see a man go about his day to day routine. He goes to work. He comes home, and I think sometimes because we're waiting for a sign, we miss it. And that's where I think creating that safe space, being intentional about the communication, and really just dialogue. Because truthfully,
Yes.
I can show up and get off this call
Yeah.
and be in the dumps,
Yeah. Mm.
and everyone could have missed it because they're looking for the sign.
Yeah.
And sometimes the sign isn't there; it's underground, and so that's where you kind of have to excavate and really be intentional. Because think about it, our lives are so structured and so routine, and
Oh yeah.
we got bills and work and kids and family responsibilities. Like we can miss each other in just the back and forth. And so I think taking time to pause and really and truly be like, "Man, Demond, man, how you doing? Like for real, you
Yeah.
know." I think that's where sometimes we see some of those signs because otherwise we'll miss it because it's not
Yeah.
obvious.
Yeah. Like, babe, I'm sure your wife says, babe, how was your day today?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
She talks, put the phone up,
Yep.
put the TikTok up.
Turn the TV
We
off.
don't need dinner on Instagram tonight.
We watch
Let's have
Housewives over the weekend. You know what I'm saying?
It's time to have dialogue. Put the phone up and let's sit down at the table or McDonald's, whatever you have time for. There's nothing wrong with that either, right? But just talking to your kids in the car, turn the radio off. How was your day to day, boys? Little things like that because that makes a difference.
Mhm.
If mom and dad are too busy on the cell phone, the kids are going to turn to other things. You gotta have the dialogue. I love, love, love that. And I love how you were honest, Nick. It's tricky. But if you know your partner, if you know your man, if you have that communication and dialogue, it's gonna be obvious. Joe, you touched on it. When you're quiet, that's not a good time for you.
Mhm.
and,
Right?
and, and I say with that is, when things happen in our life, we go into what I call the default settings.
What is that?
Whatever your
Talk about
default
that.
whatever your default settings are. For me, like I said, when I get angry or something happens, I get real quiet.
Hmm.
That's my default setting. That's why I go back. That's what I know how to do. Some people may go into other things, as we talked about it earlier. Their default setting could be drinking. It could be pornography. It could be whatever those things they consider their default setting
Yeah.
is. We need to be able to, uh, if it's a spouse or somebody that we can trust, to be able to share what our default settings are. It's just like I said, from a health standpoint, if you know that, uh, sharing with somebody what your health issues are, so they'll know, okay, he's about to have a episode, or he's about to have something because of this. He's starting to get a little sleepy. He's starting, you know. So we need to be able to share what our default settings are, so that way, if something happens and you see that person uh, shutting down or getting quiet, that person will know, okay, he's not doing well. And I know he said he's fine, but
But he's not.
his actions are speaking much louder than his words.
Yeah.
So I think that would really help that person in that situation.
Because Nick touched on it. It's not always he has to throw things across the room.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's he's keeping it inside.
A quiet.
Right? So yeah, and I'm not being funny about that. But we miss the signs again. TV that shows all these stereotypes about. No, that's not always it. Joe just hit it. For him, it's being quiet. Yeah, and ladies, if he says I need to go play golf, be quiet and let him go play golf.
Yeah.
Where are you going? Why are you going to the gym again? He said he wants to take it out on the weights. Do you want him to take it
It's
out
for
on
the
you?
mirror.
And I'm
Yeah.
not getting into domestic violence. I'm saying real. Do you want him blowing up at you, angry around the house? No, let him go release that thing. At the gym, okay? Come on. You, Demond?
Yeah, for me, for personal experience, depression runs in my, especially my mom's side, runs in my family like really hard. So especially when I was younger. I was I just like Joe Boy would say, you retreat inside of yourself. For me, I was a ferocious thinker, very hard on myself, very, very, very hard on myself. So, and I always, I found out that sometimes the mind is a very dangerous place that you can be. And especially if you stay in that state of mind for far too long. For me, I would have bouts of depression, and I wouldn't, I would move, I would do bad on the test. So whatever it was, I would come down, harder on myself than what everybody else would do. Somebody would ask me, "Hey, how are you?" "Oh, I'm cool." And like like you said, I'm drowning, or 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 like the George Floyd thing. I can't breathe.
Yeah.
With sense of it. So, for me, I had to, I had to learn about, I had to learn about meditation. I had to learn about, being more patient with myself, and just
That's
things,
good.
and little things that I could do to talk myself through whatever situation I was
And I like that because Nick, and thank you for sharing that, Demond, because mental illness is real.
Mhm.
Is it genetic, Nick? Because but Demond, I like what you said. He recognized it and he said, "I want to do something about it. I'm not
Yeah,
going to keep this thing going. We're breaking this generational behavior.
absolutely.
Mama couldn't do it. It was a different time then, right? We
Yeah.
know that. But Nick, is it genetic? Is depression genetic? Is it PTSD genetic? Oh, well, Mama had it. I must be. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think there is a genetic component to it where if you have a family member that may have had bouts with, say, depression, then on average you are at a higher risk
Hmm.
as well. But it's really kind of a both and. There's a genetic aspect that puts you at a higher risk, but then
Hmm.
there's also environmental
That's
aspects
right. Learned
that
behavior.
contribute.
It's normal.
It is,
Yeah.
it is, it is. They contribute to that as well too.
Yeah.
Just because, and I say that only because sometimes we say, well, mama had it or that, then it's almost as if there's this destiny, or as if we're doomed to whatever it is that they deal with. And that's not
Yeah.
the case. We absolutely have the power to overcome whatever it is we're dealing with. But statistically speaking, yes, you are at higher risk of certain things depending on family dynamics, environment you're brought up in, and if your parents or
Yes.
people within your immediate family experience.
Yeah. But you don't have to be a product of your environment.
Absolutely not.
There are resources and education. I love that you use that word, Demond. We have enough education. So I just encourage everyone to have the courage to reach out. The resources are there. Don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed. But that's why we always have to show love and compassion to each other. We really, really do. Now, as we end this, give us any final words you want to give us, brothers. Let's start with you, Demond, you, Joe Boy. Now I want a po' boy. Joe Boy. Seriously, y'all, I got to get these pandemic pounds off. I'm thinking about food. Demond, I had to break up this seriousness, right? It was
Yes,
getting too.
man. Love.
Seriously, I got to start tomorrow. I got to get back and get exercise because I'm wearing black every day. It's like, come on. And an elastic waist now. I got to get, yeah. That's another topic for another time. I just have to share that. Mental health. Hello.
Mhm.
Let's share. Let's be honest. But I want to start with you, Demond, you, Joe Boy. And then you, Nick, any final words you want to say on mental health and men, whatever you want to say to the people?
Yeah. Well, to the fellas out there, I'd say, let's break these stigmas, and let's cancel these generational curses. If you're, you have to first be there for yourself, before
Oh,
you can be
yes.
there, before you can be there for anybody else. So, you don't want to continue to take, to just let it pile on and pile on and pile on. So, if the first step to any problem is admitting that it's there. So
Oh,
if you,
yes.
if you see, if you can see it, then go and get some help. Because there's so many different ways that you can reach out to so many people. There's so many Dr. Nicks out there. So
Yes.
so go and get some help.
Absolutely. Good. Good. I love that. You, Joe Boy?
Just know that for those men who are listening, you are not alone. you're not the only one that is going through what you're going through. And that was one of the things that I realized when I was a part of those male groups. So when they started talking, it was like, oh, that is similar, very similar to what I'm going through right now. Know that you're not alone, and
Yeah.
then and if you don't feel comfortable in sharing or doing those things by yourself, know that there are places of safety that you can be a part of, that you can go. It could be talking with, having those sessions with Dr. Nick. It could be a part of those groups that we talked about earlier in church. But
Yeah.
don't just sit at home alone and not do anything about it. Get up, get out there, and do something about what it is that you're doing.
And we all have to be responsible for each other. Let's check on that neighbor. Let's see if they're okay. I haven't seen you come out the house for 3, 4 days. Let me go knock. Are you okay? What's going on?
Mhm.
And I know we're in a world where man, I don't want to get, what if, because it is a scary world we live in.
Mhm.
People are battling mental illness. You know this, Nick. Some of them don't even know they're battling mental illness.
True.
We live in a place where people have low emotional intelligence. They're having a bad day. What if they, you know, so I think with the spirit of wisdom and discernment, we need to check up on people as well. Dr. Nick, final comments from you.
Yeah, final comments. I would just say for people to be encouraged. I mean, just be encouraged. I was gonna say exactly what Joko said in terms of just, man, we all got something going on. And
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of times when you're dealing with something, you really begin to isolate and feel like you're the only one.
Oh
But the more
yes.
you can lean into a community and just take the risk of being open and sharing with people that you trust in a safe space, you'll be surprised how people that you may not, you could know them for years.
That's
And
right.
you'd be like, man, I didn't know that. And so just be encouraged. I think we're stronger together. And so when you can find that tribe that you can do life with, you will be amazed at what you can get through and overcome.
That's right. Trusted space. You don't
Yeah.
meet somebody and y'all get
Not
along.
Instagram.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We're followers on Facebook and Instagram.
I'm
Or
being
you
open and you type. No, 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 no. I'm talking about
come on. Or we're at a conference. I don't care if you in the same fraternity. That don't mean that.
no.
The shield don't mean the same spirit. And I'm gonna
Hmm.
say that.
Yep.
The discernment, even at the church house, you don't tell everybody your business.
Yeah.
Trusted, safe space.
Yes.
And I say that because that's real. Now we need your contact information, everyone. First, you, Demond, you, Joe Boy, and whatever else you have going on you want to share, and then Dr. Nick.
Oh, so yeah, so everybody can find me across everything social media at Soul of a Man 504. My website is www.soulofaman504.com, and the new book will be out in a few
Yeah, that's why I wanted a po' boy in New Orleans. Yeah,
weeks.
okay. Good. Very good. Is there another book coming out? What projects do you have going on? Hundamon?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. So I have So
Okay.
I have another book coming out.
And then your YouTube show, you have a show on YouTube. You go YouTube Live, Soul of a Man 504, right?
I live stream.
Yeah.
I'd say like every other day.
Yeah. Good. Every other day. Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Dr. Don can only come up in here once a week. Good for you. Joe Boy, what do you have going on?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram at Seafous. You can follow me on Facebook at Joseph Seafous, and you can also listen to me on the DSM Morning Show Saturdays right here on Raise the Praise from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. And yeah, just we just talk. All three of us are men, so
Yeah.
we talk about any and everything, and just how to help people get up and do something about whatever it is.
It's men. And look, put your blanket over your head because that's early on a Saturday, right? Listen up, listen to the show, eat your Shipley's donut, or whatever you got going on, and just listen. Stay under the covers. Do what you gotta do, people. Yeah. Nick, Dr. Nick, give us your info, all that
Absolutely.
good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So I would say the best start point is probably Instagram. Nic Hardy underscore. So that's NICHARDY underscore, and that's where I pretty much keep most of my stuff up to date. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not a big poster. I need to post more. I'm like, man, every other day. That's goals right there.
Every
Um,
other, you better be like Demond.
I
Every
know.
other
I'm like,
day.
that's some goals.
Instagram
Yeah,
every day. Let me tell you something. God has us. Do you think
yeah.
God is not going to let us make it if we don't post on Instagram today?
No, no.
What's our source? Social media is a resource. God is the source.
That's true. That's true.
Instagram has let us down. Facebook has let us down, and they're really about to mute me now. But
Yeah,
I'm not concerned. But I'm just saying, God doesn't has never broken down. Is what I'm
yeah, it's
saying.
not.
Anything man made, y'all. There's sometimes I don't post for 3-4 days. I'm good. No, ain't nothing wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have time to be impressing y'all getting on here. I don't have any motivation today.
Mhm.
Go back to one of my greatest hits. It is what
Yeah,
I need a break. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? But anyway, that's another topic for another time. Mark Zuckerberg, I love you. God bless you. But I mean, come on, people. We have got to focus on you've got to take a break. Stop trying to impress people. But that's another topic for another time. Sorry, Dr. Nick. Go ahead.
No, that's it. That's it right there. I got a podcast called Untherapeutic, and so you can
Yeah,
go.
I saw that. You posted
Yeah,
it on the Facebook page, right?
uh-huh. I
Yeah.
did. Yeah. So you can go to untherapeutic.com and check out previous episodes. We have some amazing guests on there, and yeah, subscribe on any streaming platform.
Yeah. Yeah. It's streaming. Just put in Dr.
Yeah, I'm
Nick.
not
I
trying
mean,
to think
come
of the name
on. Yeah,
anymore.
yeah. Who's that with the dog in the background? Somebody got a dog. Who has a dog? Do I hear a puppy in the back? I hear something in the background. I don't know. Look at me fussing. That's not good. Okay. So I want to thank all three of you brothers. Or I thought I heard a dog. I thought I heard a little puppy back there. I don't know. But anyway, guys, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you all. Nick has two daughters to put to bed. Okay. Uh, and Joe Boy's got to go to the gym. Demond's got to get on YouTube. People got things to do. The Dr. Don has to keep this show going. I want to say God bless you, brothers, and I want to say have a wonderful, wonderful evening and blessings and strong mental health to all of you.
Thank you.
God bless you.